Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship, coming from the Velopark Circuit. And we got 3 seconds, well 2, 1 and now 0 left in practice, and it is mighty tight with the top 15 covered by 9/10 of a second. So it is. Looks like we've got a very close qualifying and race in store. The top 5 are covered by, top 6 even, covered by, no, top 7 covered by 3/10 of a second. And we've got a 19 car field, once again, massive field, which is fantastic to see. But yes, we're just about to tick over to qualifying. Hopefully my stream doesn't play up here, but it doesn't look like it's picking up the game at the moment. So we're just gonna have to take a just gonna have to bring up the splash screen for a moment. So that's rather frustrating, but I will try to keep everybody in the loop. Just have to close the game and start it up again. But just to go over the times in practice, we had Scott Morrill on top, and then we had Bretton Foley, Corey Preston, Lee Sanford in P4. Good to see him up there. Cracker, Turmo, Reese Gardner, Jaden Draper, Brendan Ross, Coops rounds out the top 10 in practice. So a very hotly contested race or qualifying session for pole position this is going to be. So hopefully my Automobilista shows up. Yes, it does. Fantastic. So we'll just hop into the server. Hopefully we jump in time. Obviously a very short lap time around Velopark, sub-minute lap. You want to be doing 57 seconds in qualifying and possibly even in the race as well. High 57s is what you want to achieve. If you can do low 58s though, that's still pretty handy. But I think we'll see pole position in the range of the 57 second mark. Obviously Scott Morrill fastest in practice with a 57.634. So just loading into the server right now, and going to live races, which you can check out at amsoz.liveraces.info. And if you click on the live tab and click on one of these servers on the left, it'll show all the live timing, all the drivers out there on the circuit. Although there is about a 10-15 second delay, so you just have to watch out for that. But other than that, it is up to date. And here we are in the game, and just watch Corey Preston as he goes on his lap. Now, what you'll notice is that this time, obviously with the update that was released shortly after the first round, qualifying is private. So you won't see any other cars out there on track, and we've got quite a few cars out on track at the moment. But we'll only see at the moment Corey Preston's car until we change to someone else. He is the fastest in the first sector at the moment at 19.3. So, and a 16.0 in the middle sector, which again is fastest. So obviously he did have the third fastest time and was on top in a lot of the practice for a long time in the practice session. So one of the favourites to put it on pole here, 57.0. So that is the fastest time we've seen. Very quick time, and it's going to be a difficult lap to beat. We'll just see who else is out there on track at the moment. Got Brownie and Whitmore. Let's see if we can cut to Whitmore. He's about to cross the start-finish line, and he does a 59.6. So that's a disappointing time for him. And he's not had a good run so far in practice. Hasn't been here. Hasn't had the longest time in practice, so perhaps a little bit rusty. And some of these lap times for some of these drivers probably hasn't come up when they're on laps, because we did join the server while they were on a lap, so it wouldn't show the lap time. I do believe that Joyner is on an out lap, so we'll just follow him. So he comes up to the very tricky first chicane. Yep, he's beginning a lap. In that time, we've had Coops set a 58.5. And now Cracker is set a 58.9. He set the fastest middle sector of a 15.8. So one thing to watch out for at this circuit, obviously they do go onto that tight bridge there where all the team trucks go over to the infield, but obviously the first chicane, we saw it in the rookies when they drove here, and we saw it last year in the Touring Car Championship itself, that that first chicane is a bit of a doozy, and it's very easy to get it wrong and have a big accident. So I think we'll see a bit more action there once again. So Joyner comes out of the final turn. But Joyner will be starting both races from the pit lane following multiple incidents in the previous round, in round 1. So even though he will put him P9 for now, he will start from the pit lane, as will Brownie for race 1. So we've got Brendan Ross now on a lap. Looked very handy. Looked okay in practice. But yeah, obviously in that first round there, one of the faster cars. And in these front wheel drives, he seems quite handy. So we'll see how he goes. 5 tenths down though in the first split, so he's got to find a big chunk of time. He's not going to claw that back. It's 8 tenths down in the middle sector, and perhaps even a track cut there. Did use a lot of that curb. That's another thing we'll see that drivers are going to have to watch out for. It is very easy to get a track cut around here, so we might see drivers explore the limits a bit too often in the race, and we could see a drive-through penalty or two. So what will Ross do? He'll set a 58.1, which is the second off Preston's very impressive lap time. But nonetheless, it still puts him P2 in front of Termo and Stuyve Bolger. But we've still got obviously 4.5 minutes left. And James A. Owen, he's got himself disqualified. So he's done 4 laps. That is another thing that obviously these drivers have to realise. You've got 3 laps, and if you extend it, if you go to set 2 time laps, you'll be disqualified. Or if you leave the pits, set a lap, or don't even set a lap, if you leave the pits and then press escape and then try and obviously do a time lap, leaving the pits counts as 1 lap, and obviously you do another out lap, that's 2, and then you cross the line for your time lap, and that's 3, and then when you press escape, because it counts as a finished lap, it's a disqualification. So James A. Owen, race 1 winner last time out in round 1 in his first race in the series. He's just penalised himself by getting himself disqualified, and will start from the back of the field. We've still got Matt Williams, Dwayne Davies we're looking at, and Reece Gardner, who's just starting a lap. So we've finally got someone to look at on the nice liveried Fusion Sim Racing Renault Fluence of Reece Gardner, better known as Southpaw Racer for a lot of you out there. 7 tenths off in the first split. So Preston, very impressive time. He's carrying 60 kilos this time around, so he's carrying a bit of weight, but should he continue that kind of pace and domination in the race, he'll find himself with probably a bit more next round. And Gardner lost a tenth in the middle sector, so not the worst middle sector in the world. What can he muster up here coming out of the final turn? .58.2, so 5th place, not too bad. And now we've got, I believe Dwayne Davies has just gone out onto the circuit. So we'll just jump up and try and find him. There he is, in the gold D2 Racing Ford Focus. see, he has shown, obviously, last season he was very quick. He won a race. I believe the second race, I think he won. Going off the top of my head. Yeah, the second race at this very circuit last season. So we'll be hoping to at least match that in one of the races. Didn't have the greatest first round, but obviously you're looking to turn that around. He's got a lot of curb there, and it's got it very sideways, but he's managed to hold on to it. Turned into turn 3 nicely, but getting on 2 wheels there would have cost him a little bit of time. It's right on board here. Yeah, not ideal through the flip-flop there. I don't know if he was flat there either. And 20.2 in the first sector, so he's well off. And then 1.1 down in the middle sector, so not an ideal lap here for Dwayne Davies. And looks like a couple others have ventured out onto the track. Brenton Foley and Matt Williams. And what will Davies do? 59-1, 12th place. So he won't be too happy with that. It's right in the middle of that battle pack. So we'll jump to Brenton Foley. He set the 3rd fastest overall time at the moment. 2nd fastest in practice. And we've had a late runner, and I think that's put Foley off a little bit. It's very wide at turn 3, and he's going to park that lap. So that's unfortunate that someone has joined the qualifying session and obviously caused a bit of lag, and that's put him wide. So we'll have to jump to Matt Williams. 20.0 in the first sector. Lost a 10th in the middle sector. With the Paisley roll cage and Paisley helmet. Made famous last season on the Farm Canal Toyota Corolla. Crosses the line, and he goes P2. So a very nice lap there from Matt Williams. Waited till the last, so the track was a little bit more rubbered up, and put together a clean lap. But that first sector, that is where Corey Preston has absolutely obliterated everybody. Just to go through, he's got the fastest first sector on a 19.3. The second fastest first sector is a 19.6. And then the next fastest after that is a 19.8. Or no, sorry, a 19.7. So he's got 3/10 around this short circuit is massive. So all the other drivers, I think the first chicane definitely plays a big part of it, but you do got to line up the bridge pretty well. So just to go over once again, Corey Preston will start on pole position. Matt Williams, continuing his hot form, will start from the front row in P2. Brendan Ross in P3. Termo P4. Stoive P5. Reese Gardner P6. Cracker P7. Jaden Draper P8. Scott Morrill P9. Coops P10. Cracker 11th. Luke Joyner P12, but will start from the pit lane. Wayne Whitmore 13th. Brownie 14th, but he will also start from the pit lane. Fernando Bruno, he will start 15th. Brenton Foley, after having to abort his lap, 16th. Lee Sanford, I don't know if that's right, in 17th. Donaldson 18th. Neville 19th. Davies 20th. And Owen 21st. That can't be right, because Davies, we did see, had set a lap time. So not quite right there, but we'll get back to that obviously when they do form on the grid. We'll just take a short break as I conduct the driver's briefing, but we shall be back with hopefully a little bit of time to spare, and we'll go through the point standings after round 1. Alright, welcome back. Still got a minute and 20 or so left in the warm-up session, but that gives us time to speak about the championship. So, after the first round, there it is. Got James A. Owen disqualified for obviously exceeding the lap limit in qualifying this time round, so he'll start from the back this time round, but obviously he won his first race and the first race of the second season, and once again had a good solid result in the second race as well. And then Brendan Ross again continuing his hot form in front wheel drive cars. We see the Minis winning the Rookie Cup. And then Matt Williams, surprise P3, it has to be said. Wasn't anywhere really in that first race or in qualifying. Well, he mucked up qualifying. But we'll see, holding on, having a titanic scrap with Scott Merle in the second race, and held on to claim victory. And then we had Dobby the House Elf / Corey Preston. Obviously, very consistent both those races, and he's on pole for this one. And then obviously with behind him, we've got Wayne Whitmore, very consistent in both races, but he'll be looking to improve, obviously, from his qualifying position this time out, because he hasn't done too well in qualifying. And Termo, P6, Reese Gardner, P7. He did a very, very good job, very valiant effort with the amount of weight he was carrying at Goiânia. He could have finished higher, did have a couple late race incidents or offs in both races, but still picked up valuable points. He's 7th, and then can't quite read on my screen. I'm going to have to open up OBS to make it a little bit bigger, but yes, got Baker in P8. I believe he was caught up in an incident with I think Luke Joyner in that second race, and got the DNF, which is unfortunate because he picked up good points in that first race. And then Hector Kaza, who's not here tonight, he did a solid job in both those races to pick up 14 points. But we've just ticked over to the race, so I'll just go over. And Scott Murrell is 10th in the championship, obviously 3 points in race 1, 10 in race 2, but he dropped down the field after attempting to go for the lead on that last lap, or with a couple laps to go, but dropped back and dropped down a few spots down the order. So it's a great effort, but obviously that move unfortunate for him. Right, so some late breaking news. Unfortunately, we've had, once again, Brenton Foley, the game has, well, the server's booted him, or the game's crashed for him, and he's going to miss, once again, race 1 here. Same thing happened last time out, so it's going to have to be something that we might have to look at next time out to hopefully get him sorted, but well, I would try and go through the grid, but I'm not going to have time, unfortunately. We're just about through the lap. But, see, Preston will start from pole position. Matt Williams, Brendan Ross, Termo, Bolger, Gardner, Baker, Draper, Murrell and Coops is the top 10. So, Preston coming out of the final turn. They're forming up. It's a big gap there. Second half of the field. Not really closing it up, but we're away. So El Chief got the better run off the start there, but he's going to have the outside line, but he's held onto it, and he's got the inside to turn 3. So Matt Williams into the lead. Termo up the inside of Preston, and Preston a little bit of a nudge, and might have to wait there so he doesn't collect anybody, and he collects it all himself. So our pole sitter and then contact with Gary Neville. So Pulse is down to 13th after that contact with Turmo early on there. Back at the front, Turmo is trying to hold off Brendan Ross, and Stuyve is having a look at Reece Gardner. Gardner himself gives Turmo a little bit of a nudge. Looks a lot faster to the chicane. He's going to have a look at the penultimate turn, and he gets it done. Turmo gives him the space, but Turmo not giving up the position though. He got the better exit, and he'll take the line into turn 1. So Matt Williams leads after lap 1. Brendan Ross P2. Turmo P3, Gardner P4, Bolger side by side with Draper and Baker having a look as well. And Bolger holds on, does he? He's got the inside line, little bit of contact, but he holds on. And then behind him is Baker and Murrell having a look at Baker into turn 4. And then Coops, Cracker, Bruno, Preston has made up the spot since he's off. He's got his lights on, he should turn them off. Move up. Looks like well, again having a little bit of a look there. Turmo under a lot of pressure from Gardner at the moment. Looks like Matt Williams has got a little bit of a gap. Yeah, Matt Williams, a little bit of a gap. He's not carrying any weight despite winning that last race. 59.1, 58.8 for Ross, 58.0 for Turmo, 58.0 for Gardner. Bolger got a track cut there, and 58.6 for Draper behind him. So just stick with this Turmo Ross, or this Ross Turmo and Gardner battle. So you look through the flip flop there. That is the top 8, and there's 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. So Brendan Ross got that gap down to Matt Williams to a second. But in the middle sector this time around, Matt Williams just a tick faster. Williams 58.5, 58.3 for Ross and Turmo. So Reece Gardner having a look, and we've got Draper having a look at Bolger into turn 1 again. Bolger just holding on there, almost lost it. You don't want to lose the back end there, as we've seen. See last year and in the rookies, or last season and in the rookies. And as we see Owen do, and then and then we see Dwayne Davies drifting it. So just right on board now, Reece Gardner. At the back, the Castrol Cruise Turmo. It looks much, much faster and confident through the chicane. Just needs, well, unfortunately he's got 100 kilos on board, which doesn't help him down the back straight or down this front straight here. But you can just see through the corners, he's much better. So you see the front two lock up there. Turmo setting the fastest lap time that time out, 57.9. That would have put him second on the grid. So a lot of these drivers quite close to their qualifying times already. As we see Brownie there just parking it, letting the field go, making it very, very awkward. And Gardner and Turmo, they're closing in on Ross. In fact, Ross must have made a slight mistake somewhere, because that gap has come right down, and Draper has gotten past. He's got past Steve Bolger, and Morrill having a look at Baker into the hairpin, and they're going to go side by side out of the final turn. But I think Baker will hold on to that one, and does. It's almost better to take that wider exit there and get on the power and just straight line the curb there. There's that Draper all kinds of sideways, and he's the first victim. He's the first victim of the first chicane, and that is significant damage to his machine, his Ford Focus. And thankfully it looks like he's going to try and continue, which is something we haven't seen too much. We haven't seen him do too often. And James Owen up 9 spots, so He's looking for a bit of redemption from his poor qualifying. And as you can see, up 9 spots and just getting past Wayne Whitmore. And Wayne Whitmore's got to worry about the gold forward focus of Dane Davies. He's got a good run into the chicane at the back straight here. And going to go side by side throughout. A little bit of contact. Contact again, but Davies holds on for now, but Whitmore might get the better exit here. No. Davies gets the job done. And Preston now, he's obviously got past Draper after his off, but he's also got past Davies and Whitmore. And we've got Bolger right behind Murrell. So something's going on. We've once again missed. And now they're side by side through the flip-flop, and Bolger's held on. Almost lost it and speared into the side of Murrell there, but he's held on. And that's allowed Baker just to get a couple of car lengths on him now. But in front of them is Gardner, Turmo and Ross very close together, and that's allowed well, Matt Williams, he's got a 1.9 second lead now. He's able to put consistent lap times in. His best lap is a 58.0. His last lap was a 58.5. What's he do this time? 58.1. So he's doing consistent lap times, while Ross, Turmo and Gardner on that lap must have got a track cut. It's got yellow flags once again here as Ross locks up into turn 3 and is really battling it. There's Corey Preston, fastest lap of the race, a 57.5, but he's down in 9th, so he's got a bit of a job on his hands. He's still got 17.5 minutes plus the extra lap though, so there is time for him to get back into the race if he puts in laps like that. In the first sector, Ross a couple tenths faster than Williams. Well, Williams doesn't seem all that confident. Obviously, I think most of that time would be through the first chicane. If you get that right, it sets you up beautifully for turn 3. And it's all about confidence and obviously hitting the marks. And Scruff not too confident, while Ross certainly is. And Gardner, once again, he's been very close to Turmo all race, but just can't quite get in front of him. I think if he did, he'd put Ross under a little bit of pressure. As Ross makes a mistake, runs wide, locks up and ends up onto the grass there. So we'll just right on board Turmo here. Now let's see just what happened. It's a little bit sideways on the second sausage curb, ran it wide, locked up, and then that was it. So Turmo now up to P2, Gardner P3. And Baker up to P4. And Ross just went a late bulge there. We just cut to it. Bolt gets in front of Bolger. In the MG / Renault. Behind him, Preston up to P8. So he's got in front of Fernando Bruno now. And even James Owen, he's not too far away either. Owen's fastest lap being a 52 or 58.2, and Corey Preston a 57.1. So 1.2 seconds faster than the leader. He still can get a victory here if he keeps doing those lap times together, but he's got a few cars to deal with. Scott Morrill last lap, no sector to his name last time out, so he must have got a track cut somewhere. That is something to look out for later in the race. I think we will see 1 or 2 drivers getting a penalty for abusing those track limits. And Reece Gardner, he's made his way in front of Turmo. It says he's P1, so something's happened to Matt Williams. What has happened? What has happened to Matt Williams? No, it's just a timing glitch. But we'll try and find what happened. So it looks like right on board splitter cam. So just Gardner, just a better line through the flip-flops, bit of lag. Fortunately, but yeah, better line through the flip-flops, decent run onto the back straight, and he had the line into the chicane where he is faster. So there it is, and then the gap to the lead now down to 1.5 seconds. It'll be interesting now to see what Gardner can do. His fastest lap was only about a tenth faster than Williams. He's been a bit more consistent. At the same time, he's going to have to deal with Turmo, who I don't think he will be able to break all that much with that weight. But, we go back further, and Corey Preston is now in front of Stuyve. And he's got the eyes on, because there's Brendan Ross right in front of him. And we've got Gardner and Williams up front setting their personal bests, as did Ross that time around. Well, Ross is going to have to find a bit more pace, because Preston is a little bit faster than him. So you've got 13 and a half minutes to go. So time sort of is going to start to become a bit of an issue for Preston now. He's got 8.1 seconds to Williams, to Scruff, out in front. So it is possible. That time's being under a minute, so you'd think there'd be another 13 or so laps to go. Second a lap, even 7/10 a lap, 8/10 a lap. It is possible. Ross made a slight mistake at the hairpin there, and Preston got a good exit out of the hairpin and through the final turn. It is not going to be quite close enough though into the first chicane, but he might get a good run through the chicane and get him on the switchback. He's looking for it, and he gets the job done into turn 3. So Preston now up to P6. Gap to the leader, 8.6 seconds. So he did drop a little bit of time passing Ross there. And in front of him, he's got Murrell and Baker battling out for P4. And then Turmo has dropped off from Gardner. And Gardner's got that gap down to, well, fluctuating, unfortunately. AMS does like to do that. But according to live races, it was about 1.5 seconds. So let's see as they cross the line what it is. Yeah, 1.550. With Matt Williams doing his personal best on that lap, a 57.7. Gardner got a track cut on that lap. I believe it's his first. And they're coming up to some lap traffic, I think. Yep, they've got Brownie and don't know who that is, actually. Let's cut ahead. Might be Gary Neville. Whoever it was. Massive lock up. They both lock up. Yes, it is Gary Neville and Brownie. Once again, the timing glitch struck again. It says Reese Gardner in P1, but you can see on your screen just in front there, that is Matt Williams. And that gap has certainly come down on this lap, so I reckon he's made a mistake somewhere. The gap's about I tried to guess about a second once it corrects itself. 1.2, so 3/10 faster than that Gardner, who does his personal best. Behind him, we've got Corey Preston. What can he do in a bit of clear air? 57.5, so a little bit off his personal best, but certainly a lot faster than the guys around him. He was a second faster than both Baker and Scott Murrell in front of him, and 8/10 faster than Turmo. So he's got quite a bit of pace on these guys, but 8.4 to Williams in front. It's looking unlikely he'll pull back a win. But you never know, but he's certainly in contention for a podium. He's only got Turmo 3.9 seconds up the road, and he's got now Murrell right in front of him. And we've got a bit of Gary Neville trying to get out of their way through the chicane, but nowhere for him to go. Thankfully didn't affect the running order. But he's blocked Ross a little bit there, but he's trying to get out of the way. But these corners are very, very awkward for a back marker to let leaders through. Preston there, that cost him a second off his last lap alone. The gap did come down to the leader, and there's a very tight gap at the front there. So El Chief got 10 minutes to hold on. He did do it in race 2. He's going to have to do it 2 races in a row here. He will have an advantage. He's not carrying any weight. Well, Gardner is carrying 100 kilos behind him, so if you can just manage through the corners and not manage to stuff up the hairpin and the flip-flops coming onto this back straight here, he should be okay. And then the only other real opportunity is here into the hairpin. And if he's smart to it, he can block it off or even get Gardner on the switchback. Gardner has got a good run on the exit, but again, you can see visually Williams just edging away, but is moving the rear end of that thing around a lot more than Gardner. Gardner is looking the smoother of the two. Preston has jumped in front of Murrell into P5 and he's right behind Baker now. In fact, the gap to the lead is 6.4 seconds. So, never know, he could still bring a surprise here. But we'll stick to this battle for the lead. Williams has led pretty much since the exit of the first chicane onwards. He did have the inside line, or initially the outside for the chicane, but then obviously the next two corners being the inside, he took it into turn 3. He's held on ever since. Both himself and Gardner pretty much doing identical lap times. And Scruff a lot shallower into turn 3 there. And Gardner using all the racetrack, setting himself up nicely for turn 4. He just looks visually faster than Williams at the moment. Williams has got a good exit from the flip-flop, and he's just got to cover that. That's all he's got to do, really. If he wants to win the race, he's just got to maximise his exits, but he's messed up the chicane a little bit. He's going to have to watch himself into the hairpin now, because it is a passing opportunity. No, Gardner too far back now. He's got to set himself up, but he's run wide there. That's going to give Gardner a little bit of a sniff. But no, he should hold on now. So Gardner's biggest opportunities are probably into, obviously, that hairpin, the penultimate corner, and on the back straight. But there are opportunities here into turn 3 as well. In fact, probably turn 3, if Scruff makes a slight mistake, and the penultimate turn, that hairpin, probably his best bets, because he's not going to have the top speed, but all it takes for him to obviously get past El Chief is a slight mistake through those other corners, and he might not cover it off. And if Gardner sends it up the inside, he'll have that position. So now all he's got to do is just nice and smooth. This Gardner, he has to be nice and smooth through here, keep as close as he can, and he'll have a chance here. But Williams very supreme that time around through the chicane, and a good exit through the final turn. So he's going to hold on this time. Behind him, Termo's out on his own, 3.5 seconds back. Then 2 seconds behind him, Corey, Preston. So Preston has got past Baker now. And he's pushing very hard, but he's 6.5 seconds back. So the last couple of laps, he has not put any time or gained any time back on the leaders. So that's probably taken him out of contention unless he can find a lot of lap time from somewhere. Back at the front. Ooh, Matt Williams a little bit wide there. It's going to give Gardner a little bit of incentive. He's very close indeed going into the chicane. He's just got to hold on now. And it's much quicker. In fact, ooh, giving Scruff a little bit of a hurry up there. Get your move on, son. I think turn 3 or the hairpin, I reckon, is Gardner's best chance to get past Scruff, because he's not going to get him on the straights. The top speed just isn't quite there. If Scruff doesn't make a mistake, it's got to be here, and it's got to be into the hairpin as Scruff makes a real meal of turn 3 there. Locks up, runs wide. He'll hold on for now. Misses the apex, and that's going to set Gardner up beautifully down the straight here, because once you get the first part of it right, you get it all wrong. You get it all wrong. Gardner going to have a look up the inside. Scruff not defending it, which is interesting. Perhaps he's going to try and get him back into the hairpin or into turn 1. So he didn't fight that at all, surprisingly. He's having a look. Gardner locks up. That's going to give Williams a good exit, you'd imagine. He's not going to be close enough this time around in the first chicane, but he is having a look. Almost runs to the back, has compromised him a little bit, and he's sliding around. And if Williams wants to get the lead back, he's going to have to do it straight away, because I reckon Gardner might drive away from him a little bit. So he's going to have to get the flip-flop right here. But he's just not quite getting the lines right. He's gone a little bit too wide, compromising himself here. And that's making it difficult for him to get a good run onto this back straight. So I think the race is effectively done, barring a slight mistake from Gardner, or unless El Chief can just find a bit of extra time. So, couldn't quite hold on. 4 minutes. It's when Gardner took the lead, and Turmo has been overtaken from Corey Preston. He's got 4.5 seconds to Williams, so he's gained 2 seconds in the 2 laps of looking at the Gardner-Williams battle. So Preston's done a pretty good job, but then again he has had supreme pace in qualifying and in practice. So real surprise. We've got the yellows out in sector 1. I thought, had my heart skip a beat there. I thought it was one of the leaders. Thankfully it wasn't, but it looks like El Chief has closed in a little bit. So the gap half a second with 3 minutes to go. The gap behind... Well, the gap between Preston and Williams, 4.1 seconds. With Preston on that last lap of 58.8, but he must have been navigating Turmo to get up into P3, and a massive lock up there for Matt Williams. But he is close to Gardner. I think he's just got to set himself up here, get a good exit, and set it up for turn 3. Because he is going to get close, but he can't get too close during the chicane, otherwise he'll unsettle himself. That said though, he's having a look, trying to disrupt Gardner. They are coming up to some lap traffic, but yeah, him, obviously, Scruff having a look at Gardner there. He had to back off going into the chicane. That's cost him a bit of time, so it might pay for him to just sit behind him and set himself up for the pass into turn 3, as opposed to just playing charades there. And they both use all the track, all the curbing, and all the exit strips there. We've got a yellow flag ahead. And the back marker's off. We do have a couple DNFs. A bit of smoke there. It's one of the Ford Focuses. It's we've had Turmo DNF, so I'm gonna have to have a look and see what happened there. So what has happened to Turmo? I think he's just must have. No, Turmo. What's happened to him? The first chicane. It's struck. It has struck, and unfortunately that's taken him out. And Jaden Draper looks like he's got further damage from his off, but he's still going, which is good to see. And Matt Williams is holding on to the back of Gardner, but not quite close enough this time around. They will finish this lap, and there'll be time remaining, so there'll be about 3 laps to go, or 2 laps to go. And the gap between Williams and Preston now 3.1 seconds, so Preston's giving it absolutely everything. He was second faster than Williams on that last lap, but Williams wasn't all that quick. He set a 58.9. It's obviously a very good run through the chicane for Williams this time around though, and he's right behind Gardner. Preston, he might just join the back of this paddle before this battle before the race is out. So just keep an eye on him in the background, but we'll stick to this battle for the lead. Williams once again having a look up the inside of Gardner, but he's cost himself time. Perhaps he's just setting him up, to paraphrase Days of Thunder. Because the gap was 2 tenths over the line, but it's jumped out to 9 tenths. So he's got to stop having a look into turn 1 and just get the line right and set himself up for later in the lap. Because the next one, there will be one after the next one, I believe. So Corey Preston behind. He's only 1.7 behind Williams now, so he might very well join the back of him. So he's got it. If Williams wants to get it done and hold on to at least second, he's going to have to do it now. So this will be the final lap. Gardner half a second faster again, but Williams did close it down. There's a bit of traffic. Hopefully it doesn't hinder him. Now Chief very close through turn 3, so he's closed it right up. He's got Gary Neville, and one of the focuses must be Eli Donaldson. And Chief, he's very close this time around. I don't think he's close enough though. Just right on board with him. He's close enough for a dive. Whether he goes for it or not, who knows. He's having a look. Decides better of it. And that traffic in the way. Neville does a good job to get out of the way. El Chief, not quite close enough. He does have a look. But Reese Gardner will hold on. And he will take race 1, round 3. So 3 races so far. 3 different winners, Matt. So Reese Gardner will take race 1. Scruff, El Chief, Matt Williams, P2. Corey Preston recovers to P3 after his disastrous start and going off there early on at turn 3 and giving himself damage there. So he recovered to finish P3. Baker, P4. Scott Morrill, P5. Brendan Ross dropped down to finish in P6. Fernando Bruno will finish P7, up 8 spots. Wayne Whitmore will finish P8. James Owen recovered to P9 after his disqualification. He's got Dwayne Davies right behind him in P10. Cracker crosses the line to finish P11. Eli Donaldson serving a penalty on the final lap there. He finishes P12. Jaden Draper 13th with a penalty. Neville with a penalty in 14th. Termo DN. Actually, no, Draper a DNF as well. In fact, Gary Neville finished. Jaden Draper didn't. Termo DNF'd. Brownie did finish. So he was 16th. And then we've got Steve DNF. Coops DNF. Joyner DNF. And Sanford DNF. So, another race gone right down to the wire. Although that said, Preston, had he not mucked up the start, probably would have walked that one quite easily. So I hope he enjoys the 60 kilos while it lasts, because I think he'll find himself just a little bit heavier next time out. But once again, we've been treated to a good race for the win, which is something I think this series sort of prides itself on. So we've had 3 different winners, with James Owen taking the first race, Matt Williams taking his first win in race 2 last time out, and this time Reese Gardner taking his first win of the season. And it was quite, once again, quite busy. It is a busy little racetrack. And just have to see. I wonder if Live Races updates the championships automatically, and I'll be able to go through it with you. No, it doesn't. I have to enter the results manually for that to happen. But obviously, I'll just try and bring up the championship points actually once again. So that's what it looked like after the first round. So it'll be 25 points to Reese Gardner. So that will move him. That will move him to 41 points. So you'd be fairly close actually to James Owen, but obviously I think Corey Preston he'll also be quite close to the lead as well. He'll bag another 16 points, so that should move him up to, I apologise, my maths is absolutely horrendous. Yeah, 16 points should move him up to 44 points. Yeah, so it's very tight at the top. But we'll just obviously we'll take a short break, as obviously I've got to sort out the grid for race 2, and hopefully the second race is just as entertaining as the first one there. And hopefully, obviously, fingers crossed that Brenton Foley's game or the server doesn't boot him this time. Hopefully, but we shall be back. Alright, hello. Welcome back. Believe the grid is set correctly. Doesn't look like anybody has been booted. We are one driver short though, because Bretton Foley has returned and he's in the game, which is good to see. Hopefully we don't have that happening to him for the remainder of the season. Trying to think who has disappeared. I cannot find anybody. I do apologise for not playing the elevator music that I know we all love and cherish. But might as well head over. So there it is. Brownie once again will lead us away. Hopefully he doesn't jump the start this time. Obviously he did start race 1 from, pardon me, the pit lane. Because of that, obviously he has been told. And Gary Neville will start alongside him. Both of them obviously finishing. And we have Eli Donaldson, P3, Cracker. In P4, Dwayne Davies, P5, James Owen, P6. Bit of a shocker last time out. He'll be hoping for a good run. And Whitmore, P7. Poiter, P8. Brendan Ross, Scott Murrell in the Piston Broke Racing Cars 9 and 10. Baker has missed the start and he's starting from the pit lane, which is a bit of a shame. He would have been P11. Corey Preston, P12. He's just got a clean start here and he'll probably romp away once he gets to the lead. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he does have a bit of a battle on his hands. But either way, he starts P12. Matt Williams, P13. Jaden Draper, P14. So Reese Gardner has disappeared. So he was the one that didn't make it, which is really disappointing. Hopefully he does come back. Might restart it. Perhaps he's had the same issue that Foley has. But either way, we're just about to get going. Draper 14, Bolger 15, Coops, Foley, Sanford. Sanford at the back. And Baker starting from the pit lane. But I don't know, Baker must have had a spin because he's all the way back there. And Joyner, see, starting from the pit lane. So Neville leads us away. He's taken the lead from Brownie. Apologies for missing the start there. I'll just have a little quick squiz. Okay, that's up. So Neville leads us away. Donaldson's moved up to P2. Brownie P3, and he's got Cracker and Dwayne Davies right behind him. Poiter has moved up in front of James Owen, and Murrell has moved in front of James Owen now. So that's 2 spots down for James Owen, and he's got Preston and El Chief right behind him. El Chief having a look at Preston. Preston also moving over. Looks like they're going to go 4 wide. Williams sends it up the inside, has to back out of it. Preston does not give the position up. Whitmore down 4 spots, Ross down 3 spots, Jaden up 2 spots. Foley having a look up the inside of Draper, he's up 6, and he's got Bolger all over the anti-cut curves beside him, and there's Lee Sanford here in 16th, and they've got Joyner and Baker 15 or so seconds back, as well as Coops. So now we've got Brownie up the inside of Donaldson. He's spun him around there, come from a long way back. Hopefully Donaldson's going to have to wait until the queue goes all the way around or until the gap appears. And there he is, P16. He was running 3rd and looking good for the lead. He was looking quicker than Gary Neville. But unfortunately, that's cost him badly. So that will probably result in another penalty for Brownie, unfortunately. What was a bit of a silly manoeuvre, and Foley now in front of Ross. So Foley's had an absolute cracker of a start, and he's having a look at the back of Draper again. Draper himself having a decent start. Foley trying to go around the outside, and so he sort of got blocked off there by Brownie in front. Oh, Draper turning into Brownie, and Ross having a look at Foley. Ahead of him, Scott Murrell's up to P3, Peters P4, Preston P5. And then Owen 6, Williams 7. So this is a very angry battle pack. And Foley wants to make his way through, but also keep Ross behind him. A little bit of contact between Whitmore and Davies there. And that's allowed Draper through. So Draper up another spot. He's right behind Dwayne Davies. Actually, no, I thought he was up a spot, but Davies held on. front of Davies is Matt Williams behind James Owen. These are the first two races. He's having a look into the chicane. And looks like Poyder and Preston having a battle there for P3. And Preston says thank you very much. Bruno not giving it up though. It's Bruno getting a bit of a serve there from James Owen, and then El Chief side by side. So they're going to go 3 wide down the straight. And looks like a bit of contact there. A bit of damage on Foley's car. So in the background, so we'll have a look and see what has happened here. So he's had 3 cars in front of him here. Oh, Davies, massive. Davies sort of forced into the wall there. Had nowhere to go. Turned in a little bit and straight into that solid tyre barrier. That's ripped a wheel off, and it's moved him straight into Whitmore and caused a bit of a chain reaction there. It's a shame to see. So that's Neville and Davies out, and Foley with a bit of damage as well. Matt Williams up to P5. He's flying the Farcanel racing flag at the moment. Bruno trying to get that position back. Williams is going to have to try and hold on around the outside here. And now he's going to try and go for the switchback. He's set that up beautifully. And that is textbook. So, but that said, Bruno not giving the position up easily. He's got a decent run. He's going to try and go up the inside into the first chicane, but that will move him to the outside for turn 3. So Bruno left El Chief with nowhere to go except cut the chicane there, and he's going to take that position. I don't think Matt Williams will be too pleased with that, and that spun Draper around as well. So we'll just have a quick squiz at that one. And so no, Draper just lost it on his own there. Missed his braking point, which is easier to do when you're so close behind another car there, and now that stopped him behind Lee Sanford and Brownie again. So Brownie, once again, an angry battle pack behind him. Sanford, Draper, Donaldson, and Stuyve. But up at the front, Preston closing in on Murrell and Cracker. Cracker up 3 spots into the lead, and Murrell up 8. And then obviously Corey Preston up 9. Preston being the fastest of the lot. Also got a track cut that time around though, because no lap time recorded. Behind him, he's got James Owen with Matt Williams, who's got in front of Poyder clearly on that lap now. Broke away quite a bit. 1 second faster than Poyder. And once again, he's looking at James Owen. He wants to clear him quickly so he can hopefully catch up to the Cracker, Murrell and Preston battle, because if he doesn't get past James Owen soon and close in on this battle, I think Preston will probably find his way into the lead, and it will be sayonara off into the sunset. Same with Murrell. He'll want to get through as quickly as possible. And there it is, Matt Williams up the inside into the chicane. We'll just have a quick squiz. Look at the replay. So good run through the flip-flop. And then up the inside. Just ahead because Preston up to P2 now. Murrell must have made a mistake. So what's happened here? Yeah, it looks like it got very close to the back of Cracker and compromised his exit. That said though, Murrell isn't giving up. He's very close behind Preston now, and this is exactly what Williams wants. But that said, Owen has got past Williams, and Williams is going to have to do that all over again. And a bit of bump drafting there from Murrell down the straight. Surprised he didn't go for the move. That's motor racing. Still plenty of time. Less than 18 minutes plus the extra lap. These guys are coming up to lap traffic. That's Brenton Foley with his significant damage, I believe, which is a real shame. He's had an absolute shocking start to his championship defence. We see DNS in both the first races, and see contact completely unavoidable, and nothing to do with him in this race has set him well down the field when he had really decent pace. He's one of the fastest guys around here. He's at the 3rd fastest time around this track. And unfortunately, he can't use any of it because obviously the issue at the start of race 1 and then obviously the contact earlier on in this race. So he's currently last of the runners. But Cracker at the front though, he's doing a really solid job. Making too many massive errors and not giving Preston too much of a chance to sort of get past him here. And they've broken away from Murrell a little bit here. Murrell's not had the great lap. Preston, purple middle sector. And there it is, fastest lap of the race, 58.2. Another thing to obviously remember, guys, is that the track isn't as rubbered up as it was in the first race. As Williams having a look on the inside at the first chicane. Owen turns in, he gives him a little bit of contact on the sausage curve. They're both sideways, and Owen holds on, and Williams, he holds on as well. So they don't want to give each other much space at all. And then behind them, Ross has got in front of Poito, who looked like he clipped the wall there at turn 4. And Draper has got in front of Sanford and friends, and he's now back behind Poito. And Scott Murrell's got himself a drive-through. So Murrell, what's he done here? Where's he done that? So we'll just have a look. Oh, we can't tell there because of lag, but he's dropped off the front guys for like 2.5 seconds. And he's tried to keep up by pushing the limits of the track, and unfortunately he's got himself a drive-through, so that's going to move him well down the field. This is a long pit lane for such a short track, so that will move him probably, well, it will move him well down the field. And we see Bolger and Donaldson have both retired. Just try and see what happened there. See if they're connected in any way. It's like Bolger's made a mistake at the first chicane, so there's another victim for the chicane. And wouldn't surprise me if Donaldson did the same. But Cracker still leads by 0.3 of a second. Scott Murrell is 3.9 seconds back, but he's got a drive through. He's actually, in fact, got Brenton Foley right behind him as well. And behind him, Matt Williams finally looks like he's got a little bit of a break over James Owen now, and but he's got a good 8 seconds to Preston and Cracker in the lead. And Preston looking for the move into turn 3, and Cracker is going to try and hold around the outside. This is all the track. We're told not to try and go side by side to there, but hasn't caused an issue this time around, thankfully. But there's Preston into the lead, which I suppose is good for him, but for a race, I don't think, for obviously an entertaining race for the lead, I don't think we're going to see that now. We'll probably see him just drive off into the sunset. That said, Cracker looked like he tried to drive into the back of him there. Well, not tried to, but outbroke himself and almost ran into the back of him. That's cost him a couple of seconds now. So any chance he could to counter-attack and steal the lead back, well, that's diminished now as we see Scott Murrell serve his drive-through. As you can see, the pit lane is also a drag strip, and yeah, dropped well down the field now. And Brendan Ross is right behind James Owen now with Matt Williams. He hasn't really broken away from him, so perhaps he's a bit rough so far in this race. 58.9. In fact, no, not a 58. 58.9 is his fastest lap. We've got a track cut that time around. And we've got Cracker, DNF. So if I had to guess where that yellow was, he's made a mistake at the first chicane and it's claimed another victim. So there's a bit of lag, so I do apologise for that. Looks like he's a bit sideways. Yeah, so he's made a mistake and lost a wheel at that first chicane. But he hasn't lost it on the outside, he's lost it on the inside somehow. So unfortunately for Cracker, who was having, well, crack of a race, is DNF'd as Ross and Owen at it once again. So there's another retirement. There is the 5th retirement of this race. So Cracker, Donaldson, Bolger and Davies and Neville all out. So we have 15 runners. And Brendan Ross now up to P3. He's got past Owen. And he's going to try and close in on Matt Williams. And Corey Preston got a 6.2 second lead over Matt Williams at the moment. Preston must have got held up in traffic or made a couple of mistakes because it's at a 1 minute 1.9, so that's well off the pace of, well, just about it. That's one of the, in fact, that was the slowest lap of anybody except for Scott Murrell, who served a drive-through on that last lap. So obviously a couple of mistakes from him. And looks like James Owen's going to have a look into the chicane. Late move, and he's outbroke himself slightly. It was a little bit of contact. But Ross is going to try and fight back, get that P3 back, and he's going to get it into the hairpin, but he will compromise himself, and Owen tries to dive back up the inside. And they're going to go down the drag strip, side by side, to the first chicane once again. These two have an almighty scrap for P3. So Ross looked a lot more confident there through the first chicane, but any gain he did have, he's sort of lost it a little bit by losing the back end there through turn 3. These guys, 101.3 for Owen, so he lost a bit of time there. And Ross a 101.3 and Owen a 101.0. They lost 1.1 seconds. No, in fact, it was 2 seconds actually, about 2.5 seconds to Draper behind. So if these guys keep battling the way they are, it's going to be a 3-car battle. But Owen is going to have to close back in on Ross. Probably is the quicker of the two. Or at least this time out anyways. Preston in the lead. Fastest lap of the race, 57.9. But it's a shame that Foley had his issues, because Foley is very quick as well. He's a lap down. He's right behind Preston, putting him under a bit of pressure. His Foley, it's at the purple final sector, 57.945 for Foley, but he's down in 14th. This is a bit of a shame. It's obviously issues in that first race, and then having to start from the back and then being caught up with the Davies Bolger incident at this chicane here. In fact, he's looks like he's going to try and unlap himself, at least come from 2 laps down to 1 lap. And he probably would help his teammate out a little bit if he could pressure Preston into a mistake. With obviously his Farcanel teammate Williams in P2. And Preston locking up that inside tyre. Looked like he's going to run wide there for a second, but it did pull up. Foley right there. Battle for second. It's not really battle at the moment. 2.3 between Williams and Ross. And there's 7 or 8 tenths between Ross and Owen. But that's probably closed down a bit after the first couple of corners here. And Draper is closing in. He's closing in. He was 6 tenths faster than James Owen on that last lap. And he's faster than Ross and Owen so far this lap. So it's going to become a 3-car battle in the next lap or two, the way this is going. Behind them, we've got Poiter, Baker, Lee Sanford, and Joyner all battling it out for P6. As Preston sets the fastest lap of the race up in front. 57.866. And no one else except for really Foley is anywhere close to that at the moment. Front end damage on Bruno's car and on the passenger door there, so he's been in the wars a little bit so far, and it's going to continue to be in the wars with Baker and Sanford looking to get that P6 off him. Sanford trying to make a move up the inside. A little bit of contact there. Both drivers could have made a little bit of space for each other. And Preston's got a drive through. So Corey Preston has pushed the limits and got a track limits penalty and has had to serve a drive through. And we've had Matt Williams. I don't know if he's, and we've had Scott Murrell DNF. What has happened here? And Matt Williams has got a DNF. What has happened? So we're going to have to go through and see what's happened. obviously both drivers pushing the limit. So we've got Brendan Ross in the lead. Jaden Draper's moved his way up to P2. So what has happened? So try and find some more. Somebody well down the field. It's a bit of lag, so we can't see it at the moment. And Preston's in again. So this is live pictures. So Preston got another drive through for. You must have cut the track again. It does, like, once you get a track cut penalty, if you cut the track again, you do get penalised the drive through again. So he's learnt that the hard way. So now Brendan Ross, Jaden Draper and James Owen are battling for the lead. Matt Williams is 30 seconds behind. Ross has run wide and Draper is into the lead with 6.5 minutes left. So heartbreak for Matt Williams. He could have had, once again running P2, he could have had another race 2 victory, but he got himself a penalty. Preston could have walked both races had he not made silly errors. As unfortunately, Brendan Ross has disappeared. Hopefully he comes back. That'd be a real shame if another driver is left out and DNFs for a reason that is not of their own doing. But either way, Draper. Well, he's got no one really. Well, he's got Owen at a second or so behind him, but with Ross not there, no, Ross is out. So Ross has unfortunately disappeared and a disconnect. So both piston broke racing cars, which were leading the Constructors' Championship, they're both out. So 0 points for them. Well, not Constructors, Teams Championship, I should say. And with Farkenhell only having Matt Williams really in a decent position. Although that said, with that DNF, it will move Foley up to P11, so they will get a couple points. Cracker Racing's only got one driver in the race, so it's D2 Racing. Although only Lee Sanford is the best placed team driver, or driver that is in a team in P4, so it'll help them out. They've got Bruno, Baker and Joyner all battling it out, and they've got Lee Sanford right behind. So Sanford's dropped off a little bit from these guys, and they're trying to go 3 wide. Baker on the outside. In fact, Baker's done well there to hold on. Bruno locks up in front. All of them taking a very narrow line into turn 3. Behind them there's Coops a few seconds back. And we've had Draper pull 2 seconds out on James Owen now, so that gap out to 2 seconds. And then we've got this battle here for P3. Corey Preston finds himself 9, or in P9 I should say, he's 11 seconds behind Matt Williams. So both those guys were running comfortably first and second. And now they find themselves 8th and 9th. Baker having a little bit of a look, but he's not going to be close enough to really affect Bruno or to make a move really into the first chicane. Does lock up though. Locks up again into turn 3. And Baker is closing in. The old Baker burn, it is here. He does not disappear from Vinicius Baker. He's always there. Bruno working those front tires very hard. It's his style. It's a lot more lock on in these cars that probably don't want to do that, but it does seem to work for him. But towards the end of the races, towards the end of the races, I should say, does drop off a little bit with obviously his front tires being #wrecked. So though it's been a decent middle sector for him, he's put a little bit of a gap out. Sadford having a look at Joyner just behind P5. Coops is 6.7 seconds behind Sanford. Once again, Baker sort of probably looking for his braking zone more than anything into turn 1. And Bruno looks like he ran a little bit wide there, and it's allowed Baker to close in just a little bit. I think Baker's probably a little bit closer this time around into turn 4 than what he was last time. But Bruno's got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, so probably about 3 or 4 laps to hold on here. Yeah, probably 3 laps to hold on. But he's locked up there. That's going to give Baker a chance into the hairpin, but it's going to balk him a little bit. And Bruno goes, oh, he was going to go defensive, but then moved back to the outside. Oh, and Baker rear-ended by Joyner. It was a bit too aggressive trying to get the position, and then he moves over very late there. And Sanford is going to have a look up the inside, as is Baker. But again, Baker not going to be close enough, but is Sanford. Well, he's gone for it, Sanford, and he's got it. And Joyner's done a good job there to hold on. And not obviously take too much sausage curve and end up in the fence like we've seen many drivers there this season and last. But for now, Bruno holds on, but the way he's driving, you got to think that those front tyres will be absolutely screaming. And Baker's got a good run now. Bruno understeered just a little bit too much. And Baker having to look up the inside into the chicane. Doesn't brake too late. It's yeah, it's quite conservative actually, and that's given Sanford a decent run into the hairpin. And Baker's, after all that, he's dropped back and he's now fallen into the clutches of Sanford and Joyner behind. So that probably will be, well, this will be the last lap, well, not the last lap of the race, but the last lap, the penultimate, it should be the penultimate lap. I think Draper will cross the line after time runs out. So it should be a 26 lap race. It will be tight. The battle, well, it's not really a battle, but the gap between first and second, 2.6 seconds, has sort of stayed around that mark the past 3 or 4 laps. Hasn't really grown or shrunk. And back here for P3 and 4, Baker gone defensive, and Sanford looks very mighty through the chicane, while Baker not so much. Sanford having a look, but he's going to compromise his exit onto the main straight, and in fact Joyner's probably got the best exit out of all of them now, but he's too far back to really make any use of it. So 59.9 for Bruno. Baker must have got a track cut somewhere, and Sanford a 59.3. So obviously Sanford and Baker have closed in, and Sanford having a look into turn 3, too far back though, and Baker holds on for now. But yeah, that gap is closed right up, and Sanford going to look up the inside of the flip-flop, but had to back out of it. That would have been a big incident. And that's compromised him badly. But fortunately for him, but unfortunately for Joyner, he ran wide. And now in front of him, Bruno's gone defensive. And Baker, well, he hasn't really gone for the move. And looks like Bruno has outbroke himself a little bit. Baker, he doesn't use that curb there. And it's going to give Sanford a good run. Sanford got the inside, but you have seen it all week or all round long. If you take that wider line through there when you're side by side, you can get on the power a bit early and take a better exit down this main straight. So I have missed the end of the race. I do apologise, but Jaden Draper wins. So that's 4 different winners so far. 4 races, 4 different winners. Could have been Corey Preston's race easily, but a penalty for him, drive-through penalty for him, cost him dearly. James Owen finishes P2, so I believe that will probably extend his lead in the championship, although he's not too happy with his efforts. Fernando Bruno, he held on right at the end there for P3. Baker held on for P4, well, just got there to P4. Lee Sanford, solid P5 for him. Luke Joyner, P6, not a bad effort. He started from the pit lane in both races, and P6 in race 2, pretty good effort. And then Coops, P7. Matt Williams, he'll be very frustrated. He could have had a P2 or even a win had he not got too many track cuts, so he'll be quite annoyed with himself. He finishes P9. Got Corey Preston, Matt Williams, P8. Corey Preston, P9. Again, he should have his pace was a level above just about anybody's or everybody's, except for Brenton Foley's, as we saw as he hung on despite being 2 laps down before Preston got himself a drive-through. So Preston should have walked the second race. He made a mistake early on in the first race and did a great job to get P3 in the end, but he'll be kicking himself. He could have had 2 race wins, but he comes away with a 3rd and a 9th. He finishes P9. Wayne Whitmore, P10. Bit anonymous this time out. And then Brenton Foley hung in there after that contact early on that set him a couple laps down, which was a bit of a shame because he had the pace to, well, he had the pace to win the race, so a bit of a shame for him. And then Brownie, the last of the finishers in P12. And then of the retirements, Brendan Ross, he was battling with Jaden Draper, and it would have been a fantastic finish had he not had, I think, an internet connection issue. He just disappeared off our screens, which is a real shame. He was the first, or the last of the DNFs, and then Scott Murrell, obviously he had a drive-through early on and never recovered, and then obviously DNF'd, and then we did have a couple other DNFs after that, but because it's changed session, I can't actually tell you. But yeah, once again, another race, another different winner. The same thing happened last year where we had, I think, 4 different winners in the first 4 races. I think it might have even been more than that. But once again, another winner, although this time rather inherited. But you'll take them any way you can get. But we'll cut to, I think we'll cut to a very, I'm sure, frustrated figure in Corey Preston. Obviously, Corey, a fantastic pole lap, a 57.0, which was in qualifying, a second faster than everybody else, and of any time set, it was a good, I think, 5/10 or 6/10 faster than any other time anyone else set. So you had the pace there. You made a mistake early on the first lap even in the first race, but you did well to fight back. And then in the second race there, did you cut the track too many times? We weren't watching you at the time, but obviously you got yourself a drive-through.
Yeah, I got myself a drive-through in the second race, just getting sideways through that turn 1. But in the first race, I started out alongside, I think it was Matt Williams. And, we went side by side through turn 1 and 2, and then turn 3, I copped a whack from, I don't know, someone, and all of a sudden my rear end was in the air, and I was like, uh-oh. So I put some counter steer into it, and then it's just, she just turned hard right, and then next thing I know myself, I was over that big sausage curb, and yeah, all hell broke loose. So
Yeah, thankfully you managed to not cause run into anybody as you rejoin the track, and you did do a pretty good effort there to obviously salvage a decent P3 there.
yeah, I gave on the rejoin. Yeah, as you said, I tried to give people as much room as I could, but yeah, doing so, I damaged one of my front wheels. So yeah, I had damage the first race. Yeah.
Yeah, we did see that. So you did make contact with the wall there. That said, though, you were in with the pace you had. You were in with a chance of winning that first race. It's just you got stuck behind a couple of guys for a couple of laps too long, and obviously you were close at the end, but not quite close enough.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was a couple of incidents that I had to come to a dead stop to, and yeah, that put paid to any chance I got. And as you say, if I had to clear the traffic a bit earlier, maybe a couple laps earlier, I would have been right up with that lead battle. But yeah, third still good, I suppose. But I'm just really bummed about that second race. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, it was looking like it was in the bag, but at least you can take a little bit of solace in that you had the pace to, well, pretty much be comfortably faster than just about anybody out there. So hopefully you'll carry that into the next round.
Yeah, I don't like my chances. Uh,
We'll see. But once again, congratulations on obviously pole position. Unlucky in the races, but still some good pace out there.
yeah, thanks.
All right, so we might as well cut to our race 2 winner, obviously Jaden Draper. You've had a bit of an up and down time in the touring cars where you've had a pole position, I believe, in the past and some good qualifying efforts. You've led races and you've been in good positions, but you've never brought it home. But then this time out in the second race, well, you're battling for pretty much a podium place, and then obviously you had Brendan Ross retire, but then before that you had both Matt Williams and Corey Preston in front of you get drive-throughs.
I was pretty lucky there. with those drive-through penalties. I was also on my final warning, so I was quite scared to get a cheeky little cut and get myself a drive-through like everyone else does.
Yeah, that's it. And you did have a pretty hard battle there with Rossi. It was just a bit of a shame that obviously he disconnected there.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite unlucky that he did disconnect. I was actually quite excited to get into a battle with Ross, but I just looked behind and he just disappeared, and I was like, where did he go?
And then obviously once he did disconnect, obviously you did have James behind you, but it seemed he couldn't quite match the pace. And obviously when you had no one battling you, it seemed that you're able to drive a bit cleaner and drive away there.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep focused, trying to not cut any more corners. Got my way home.
Well, you've had a torrid time finishing races, but obviously you dug deep in the first race and did your best after obviously a couple early issues, and obviously this time out you've brought a win. So well done. All right. So I think for our third interview, I think we'll cut to Brendan Foley. Obviously, he did have a disconnect in the first race. When you were unfortunately involved in an accident that was not of your own doing. It's just I think everybody was trying to get out of each other's way, and unfortunately Dwayne clipped the barrier and you're caught up in it and got damaged. But if you hadn't had that damage, the pace you had towards the second half of that race when you're behind Corey Preston, you could have given him a good shout had you not had your issues this evening.
Yeah, I think that's what frustrated me the most. It looked like I didn't see it. I didn't see the full incident. I've got to go back and watch it. It looks like someone pushed Dwayne into the barrier, but yeah, it was kind of just like a ricochet, and it pretty much rendered my car undrivable. But the unlucky thing about that track is the pit exits on kind of halfway around, so I couldn't, even though it wasn't the end of the lap, I still couldn't get in the pits. I had to do another lap, so that's what really put me 2 laps down. I think I had like 55 seconds of damage, but yeah, had the pace, just had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, obviously the pit lane being, or the pit exit or pit entry being obviously before that final chicane where the incident took place. So you had to do pretty much a full lap with a wrecked car. But obviously, still you picked up some points. Hopefully next time out you don't have issues in the first round. You can sort of demonstrate obviously the speed that you showed last season. Hopefully you can bring home a decent result.
Fingers crossed. It hasn't happened this season yet.
Well, your luck has to turn sometime, but hopefully next time out we see you once again battling up the front.
Cheers.
And I think we'll cut to our final interview. We'll cut to Scruff / El Chief. Once again, you were looking good for a decent result. We saw Corey Preston get a drive through, and then we were wondering where you were on the timing, and then we saw that you yourself had a drive-through penalty, so you must be mighty frustrated where you could have, well, you had a chance to win in race 1, but had to settle for P2, and then you could have settled for P2, and then perhaps even taken the win had you not obviously cost yourself by, I have to assume, extending the track and getting yourself a track cut.
Yeah, the track cuts were from either being forced off the track before I got the elbows out and went fuck it, or just damage that I had from a shit rejoin by someone. So the car wouldn't turn left properly, so they couldn't do much about it, really.
Yeah, I'd imagine pretty frustrating. Though it has to be said, though, I think you'd be quite pleased, obviously, with the pace that you've been able to obviously demonstrate and the consistency as well in both races to obviously bring home second and then be running up the front or battle your way through up to second and be there quite comfortably in the second race.
I'm not really happy about anything from tonight. That second race was an absolute mess. I definitely played my part in it, but that was more caused by frustration after being sent off the track 2 times and getting however much damage on pretty much every panel of the car from trying to drive cleanly, and then just said fuck it and went for it.
Well, rather unfortunate. That said, though, valuable points. Should be doing quite well in the championship now. obviously, before the season started, you weren't really looking to do too many races. In fact, you only wanted to do Cascavel, and you've found yourself having to do, well, you've done every race so far and getting a win and a second. Will you continue on doing every race, or will you just drive part-time for the rest of the season?
I said till it falls to shit, and I don't think it really has yet. I think it's just been a rough night, really, mainly due to other people.
Well, rather unfortunate, but hopefully for pretty much everybody in here, um, except for Jaden Draper, who I think is not in here anymore, but hopefully everybody in the TV time has a better time out next time out, because you've all had a bit of a rough one. But that is it from Velopark. Obviously, once again, 2 new winners, so that's 4 different winners so far this season in the Touring Car Championship from Velopark. On Thursday night, we have the Porsches with ARW TV taking over that one. That is at Donington Park. I believe that is the longer. It's one of the longer feature races, I believe, Scruff. So,
Yeah, it is.
yep. So hopefully a few people get onto that one. It's actually quite a nice track to drive in those Porsches. In fact, I'd say it's probably the best track for the Porsches to drive all season. So hopefully, if you guys get around to that one. Sunday night again, there's no F1s anymore. We have just GT3 Fun Series, so just hop in and choose whatever car you like. If you want to race in WEC in the WC season next season, just go in there, test out some cars and have a bit of fun. And next week is the Rookie Cup. I can't remember which circuit it is, but we hope we get better numbers out next time. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast from Automobilista Australia here at Velopark, and we hope to catch you next time. Cheers.